there have been a lot of questions about John Company, and I did write a full session report, but I feel like a quick and dirty video might be the best way to show you how the game works. So I'm going to play the early company scenario with 4 players, and that'll give you a good idea of the negotiations and dynamics and such. And I'm just going to run right through it. So let's start. The first thing we're going to do is fill vacancies, and we fill vacancies. The first thing we're going to do is figure out how many starting cubes. In a 4-player game, we have 6. So we're going to put 6 cubes out for each player. There. Alright, and then it's recommended for your first game you just go in order. So pink is going to be the chairman, and for every executive position you also place one in the court of directors. Then purple is going to be the director of trade, and green is going to be the Bombay president. Yellow is going to be the Madras president. Then pink is going to be the Bengal president. Then it goes to purple for ships purchasing, green for goods purchasing, and yellow for military affairs. Now we roll dice for the starting cubes that we have left over. So pink has 2 starting cubes. I know I'm calling them cubes even though they look like meeples, but they're going to be cubes in the game. So I roll 2 dice because I have 2 cubes left for pink. So that's a 1 and a 5. So 1 means that pink is going to get another share, and we're going to get the share price into the company. So the company share price, it can be either 3, 4, or 5. Right now it's at 4. So that 4 goes to the company, and immediately the chairman has to decide where that money is going to go. Now, where does the pink want that money to go? Well, pink is also the president of the Bengal company. So it probably wants to put money over there to kind of make sure that it can ship goods. It also might want to put money in shipyards because we don't know yet. So I think right now it's just going to give itself money because greed is good. We'll do that to guarantee that it can purchase 1 ship, but I don't put the rest of the money there. So that's a thing. And then the last is a 5, and that means an officer, and whenever you put something in 5 or 6, you also put something in the writer's box. So then purple's going to roll, and purple rolls 2 1s and a 2. This is going to be a company-rich game. So 2 1s means that purple gets 2 things, and that means 8 money to the company. And we'll roll the last thing. So that's 2. That means a manor. So that's purple. And the chairman has to again decide where this money is going to go. It probably wants another ship. And I'm going to assume, it's going to assume that at least there's going to be more things here. So it's only going to put a 5 here. And then the rest of this money, where should the rest of this money go? It can afford, so it can put more money there. It can buy, let's put another thing there so I can buy another gun. And the rest of this money can go, so at this point, there's not a lot of negotiation, so let's just be greedy again. So that's that, and we roll 3 for green, and green is going to get a 6, so a captain spot, which means another writer, a 3, so that's going to go in shipyards. Sorry, shipyards. And a 2 is going to give it a manor. Alright, and then yellow is going to roll 3, so that's a 3, so another shipyard for yellow. It's going to go to the factory there for 4, and then it's also going to go to the captain spot, and that's going to give it another rider. Alright, so that is the starting setup. The really interesting thing about this game is that the starting setup changes so much immediately. Like, games can go in different directions just from the way things are set up. Okay, so now we can go straight to the family action, and I'm going to discuss briefly what the different family actions are. So, the first one is share. This essentially lets you buy a share in the company at the share price. And it's going to cost you whatever the share price does. The manor is just straight money for points. So £5 gives you 2 points at the end of the game. Shipyards, if you put a cube here, you're going to get a kickback every time a ship is purchased. So for every cube that you have, you get £1 for every ship purchased from your shipyard. Factory is the same thing, but you get the full amount of the good, the price of the good, for every factory good that you sell. The writer spot is free. These all cost money, but the writer spot, you can put up to 2 cubes in there for free, and that's where the senior positions are filled from. Officer spot is also free, and that will eventually fill the armies up here. And then the captain spot is also free, and that will allow you to buy or the director of trade will allow you to buy a ship if you can afford it, to help the company ship goods. So those are the family actions, and pink is going to decide what family action it wants to do. So the pink family, their special ability is they can buy shipyards for 2, which is a discount of 1, and that's pretty good. So I think that's what the Larkins are going to do. They're going to buy 1 shipyard. Do they want to buy more than 1 shipyard? Because they can afford it. And yeah, I think they're going to do that. They're going to buy another shipyard. Okay, so then it goes to purple. So purple, they can buy vacation homes or manors for 4, which is a discount of 1. Now 2 for 1 money for points is pretty good. And I think that's what they're gonna do. I don't really see another. They don't have a captain, so they don't need money for later. They already have a good amount of shares here. They have more than any. Well, they're tied for pink for the most shares. So I think they're just going to spend their money on a manor, which is what the Benians did. They had a lot of estate homes. So we're going to do that. And then green. So green does have a captain. Green probably wants to save its money so that it can buy a ship later. So I don't think green is going to do any of the actions that cost money. Instead, I think green, they also have the least amount of shares. So green doesn't care too much about the company. I think green wants to tank the company, actually. So I think green is going to put 2 officers out. Because the company has to pay for all the captainships and all the officers. And the green, I think, wants to bleed the company dry. So that's it's going to be its strategy. Then we have yellow. And yellow, when taking any blue company action, they roll an additional die for free. So that doesn't really. I guess yellow wants to stuff the writer's box so that it can get into those positions. I think that's what it's going to do. Though it can also buy a share because it doesn't have a lot right now. But no, I think it's just going to stuff the writer's box right now. All right, and those are the family actions. So now we go to the company actions. The first thing we need to do is fill vacancies, but there are no vacancies to be filled. So then we're going to go to, we're going to follow this red ribbon and do all of the officer positions. So purple is going to buy ships. The ship's purchasing office has to buy at least as many ships as it can afford. And right now it has 11 pounds. So ships are going to cost 6 unless they have shipyards. And for every cube that you have in front of a shipyard, it's going to be lowered by 1. So that means that these 2 ships, which each have 2 cubes, they're going to be the cheapest, which is $4. So this is going to be 4, this is going to be 4, and every other ship is going to be 6. With $11, that means that it can buy 2 ships for $8 total. So it's going to do that. It's going to buy 2 ships. And these 2 ships are going to go to the Director of Trade. And these guys right here are going to get a kickback for those ships. So green is going to get 1 of that money. Yellow is going to get 1 of that money. And pink is going to get 2 of that money. So that's ships purchasing. Now goods purchasing, once again, has to buy as least as many as it can afford. So it's going to buy, if there is a factory cube in front of the good, that means that the price is whatever is the evening post. At the start of the game, it's going to be 2 pounds. That means that this good costs $2, and every other good is going to cost 3. There are no non-factory goods are going to cost $3 each. That means that it can buy 2 goods for 2 and 3, and then it spends its entire allotment there, and those goods are going to go to the Director of Trade, and that's that. So now the Military Affairs Office has to do the same thing. So the Military Affairs Office has to buy at least as many goods as it can afford, and those goods become guns. The chairman put $1 here so that it can afford two goods there. So it has to buy these 2 guns, and those 2 guns go to the Military Affairs Office. Now, the next thing that it's going to do is logistics. It has to decide where those guns are going to go. Now, where does it want those guns to go? This is a good time to talk about the regions. So these are sovereign regions, but they are open for trade. These right here are sovereign regions, but they're closed for trade. The difference between a sovereign region and a dominated region is that this region is autonomous. It has its own military. We're just trading with it. If we conquer that region, then that becomes a dominated region, and we have to defend that region from other regions. So right now, the reason why the Military Affairs Office would want to put guns in one particular region is to try to conquer it. So it probably doesn't want to do it in Bengal, because Bengal right now has a military defense of 2, whereas Madras and Bombay have a military defense of 1. Madras has a higher plunder value than Bombay does. So that means that if you do conquer that region, the soldiers are going to get more money. So I think that the Military Affairs Officer probably wants those guns over there. The extra special benefit to the Military Affairs Officer is that it's yellow, and the Madras presidency is also yellow. So it has a lot of say about what it can do with those guns. So that's what's going to happen there. And it spends all of its money. And then we go to the Director of Trade. So now the Director of Trade is purple. And purple has to decide where it wants to put these ships and these goods. So the way that the company makes money is by shipping orders. And these are the orders right here. And you need to have at least this many combined ships and goods to ship those orders. So a 2 right here means that you can use 2 ships or 1 ship and 1 good. You can't do just goods. You need to have at least 1 good for every ship. So you can do 1 good and 1 ship or 2 ships. At the start of the game, each presidency has 2 ships, so we can try to do this already. The question is, it wants to allocate more ships and goods so that it can do these right here. So if 3 of those goods goes to Bengal, it's going to get more money. Now, the issue with that is that benefits pink. The purple doesn't really have a dog in this fight, is purple doesn't have any presidency, so they're not going to get a bonus if something is shipped. So this is when negotiation comes in. Purple could give Bengal that those goods to be able to ship another order, but it's going to help pink. Now, if the company makes money, the people with the most shares are going to make the most money. And right now that's pink and purple. So it does benefit purple to make more money, but it benefits pink more to make more money. So now pink is trying to figure out, hey, purple, what can I do to get the 2 ships and a good over there? And purple, so at this point, purple doesn't really care all that much. I think purple can give it to yellow or green, but those aren't nearly as good. I think purple's going to allow... it tries to strike a deal with pink to give it something. But pink is telling purple, listen, it benefits us both. There's no real reason for me to give you anything. Just give me the ships and the good. That's going to be the best thing for all of us. So purple relents and decides to hand over the ships and the good, and then it has 1 good left over. And who is it going to give that good to? Now, it doesn't really help anybody because these are depressed regions. The color side up means that this is prosperous and you're going to get more money for shipping goods. Depressed regions means that you're going to get less money for shipping goods. And right now, it's 2 to get 4 and 3 to get 4. So adding a good to ship long cloth instead of handicrafts doesn't really benefit. And it's the same thing here. It's 2 for 5 and 3 for 4. So this is even worse. So right now, purple is asking yellow and green, hey, what do you want for this good? Because it's not gonna benefit me. I need to give it to either of you. And yellow says, hey, I'll give purple a money just if you put it on my side. So purple's gonna give, yellow's gonna give purple a money, and purple's gonna say, okay, sure, here's your good. You can use it at some point in the future. And that's how that worked out. So that is the Director of Trade, and now we go to the presidencies. So green can do 3 actions: campaign, open trade, or sale. Campaign is essentially conquering Bombay, right? But right now, green can't conquer Bombay because it doesn't have any guns or soldiers. So it's not going to try to do that. It's going to try to... the next thing you can try to do is open trade. Now, these regions are open for trade. These regions are closed for trade. To open a region for trade means that you can ship goods to these regions. And that's good, but the drawback to that is that it becomes harder to ship to these regions. So does green want to try to open trade? No, I think green just wants to make sure that it can ship. So it's not going to do the open trade action. It will do the sale action. So the sale action, the way that works is any blue action requires a check. And that's going to be the strength for shipping, the strength minus the penalty. So the strength is how many dice you pay to roll, and the penalty is the number of regions minus 1. So number of regions minus 1 is 0 here. So it's going to be the strength minus 0, so it's just the strength. And in this case, it's going to decide to spend 3. It wants a little left over to roll 3 dice. Now, if green rolls a 1 or a 2 on any die, then it's successful. It's successfully shipped. If it rolls a 3 or a 4, it's unsuccessful, but nothing happens. If it rolls a 5 or a 6 as its lowest roll, then it gets fired in disgrace. It can't even try to retire with some privilege over here. So it's going to roll 3 dice and hope for a 1 or a 2. And it got a 1. So that means that it successfully shipped these 2 goods. to this region right here. So these two ships shipped over here, and the company got $5. So that was a successful shipment. Next, it goes to the Madras presidency. So the Madras presidency can do the same thing. It can try to campaign, and it does have 2 guns. So it can try to conquer Madras, and if it were to do that, it would be the number of guns. The number of dice you roll is the number of guns and soldiers minus the defense value, which is 1 here. So it can roll 1 die, and if it's a 1 or a 2, it succeeds. It doesn't really want to do that for a couple reasons. Number one, if it dominates this region, the military defense is no longer available. You have to defend Madras yourself, and we're not really in a position to do that right now. The other reason is that nobody gets that plunder money. There's some really sweet plunder money over here, but only soldiers get that plunder money, and there are no soldiers right now. So it's not going to spend its money on that. It's instead going to try to open trade, and I'll explain why it wants to open trade. During the events abroad phase, this elephant over here is going to move from one number to another. So right now, it's in number 1, right here, and it's going to move to 2 and 3, and a bit scary right here. This is the 3 spot. When it gets to 3, you're going to roll a die, and depending on where the die goes, one of these things is going to happen, which means on a roll of 1, 2, 3, or 4, Hyderabad is going to try to conquer Madras with these strength values, right? It's going to try to conquer Bengal with this one, but for the most part, it's going to try to conquer Madras. And Madras right now only has a defense of 1. If we lose this region, like if Hyderabad conquers Madras, then that presidency is going to be gone. All the ships are going to be gone, the goods are going to be gone, the money's going to be gone. It just goes away. So if you want to try to open trade so that you can get more regions here. So if Hyderabad conquers Madras, that's okay because we're also trading with Hyderabad and that presidency sticks around. So that's one major reason why Yellow in particular wants to open trade, and I think it's going to do that. Another reason why it wants to do that is right now Yellow has a ship and 2 goods, or sorry, 2 ships and a good. So that means that it can fulfill all 3 of these orders because it only takes 1 to fulfill each order. So if it has 3 goods and ships combined, it can fulfill all 3 orders and get 3 bonus money for itself. So it's just all around a great deal for them. So Yellow's gonna decide to open trade. Now, you have to roll dice, and when you're opening trade, there is no penalty. It's just for every pound you spend, you get a die. And it's going to spend, it still wants to ship, but it really wants to open trade. So it's going to spend 3 of its 5 to open trade. And it's going to roll 3 dice, and it is not successful. So that's a bummer for Yellow. Now, it can choose to spend the other 2 to open trade. The drawback to this is that if you roll 2 dice, there's a higher chance that you get a 5 or a 6. And remember, they get fired and get nothing on a 5 or a 6. So does it want to try to ship goods and make some money, or try to continue to open trade again? Because it did roll a 4, so it can try to do it again. But if it spends its last 2 money on that, then it's not making any money. I think it's going to go the safe route, and it's going to spend its 2 money to try to ship this good and this ship right here. So we're going to roll 2 dice, and it fails again. Yellow's not having a good time of it, so this just, nothing happens over there. All right, now we go to Pink, and Pink is just showered with money over here. So Pink can do a lot of things. I think Pink also wants to try to open trade with Hyderabad because it's beneficial for it as well. So it's going to do that. It's going to spend $3. to try to open trade, and it's successful. So it opened trade with Hyderabad, and yellow's not really liking that very much. And it still has money. It's not going to campaign, but it will sail. And now with 5 goods, it can do this one, this one, this one, and this one. So it can make 21 bucks for the company and 4 bucks for itself. So it really wants that to succeed. So it's probably gonna spend. I'm gonna say we'll leave some there. Well, the chairman might give it more money because Pink is the chairman. But we'll spend 5 and roll 5 dice, and that should be, I believe, like a 94% chance or some 87%, something like that. So it's gonna roll 5 dice. And those 5 dice are, yeah, it's successful. So it successfully shipped 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's going to put a thing. Oh, sorry. My mistake. I did that wrong. So I forgot the penalty. So the penalty is, so when you ship a good, it's going to be your strength minus the penalty. And the penalty here is 1 because it's the number of regions you have minus 1, right? So that means that I needed to spend 1 more in order to roll with 5 dice. Because the strength, so if I spend 6, the strength is 6, minus 1 is 5. So I'm just going to take 1 money out, and everything else is fine. So I'm going to put that there, that there, that there, and 1 there to show that it did that. So that's going to be 21 bucks. So that's 27 total for the company. That's a good amount of money there. So yeah, that worked out for Pink. So that is the last company action. So now we go to the trade action, and players take money for taxes. There are no taxes because there are no dominated regions. Then the presidential bonuses. So Pink is making out right here because they fulfilled 4 orders, so they're going to make 4 bucks. So Pink gets 4 bucks. And Green fulfilled 1 order, so it gets £1 for Green. Get these a little more together. And that is all for presidential bonuses. Interlopers, there are no captains right now. And then prizes and family powers. So, the Sykes family at the start of trade, if it has at least 2 raiders in the raiders box, it gets £1. But it didn't put stuff here, it put stuff there, so it doesn't get £1. Which is either lack of foresight or they have a different strategy. So then the company pays debts to the bank. Now, the company has to pay for every captain and every gun and every soldier. There are no soldiers, there are no captains, but there are 2 guns, which means that the company has to pay 1, 2 for those guns. And it has to do that every round. Or every turn. And that's it. Now the chairman decides to allocate those funds. Now, the chairman can pay out dividends, and right now it has 25 bucks, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 shareholders. So it can pay out 25 divided by 8, and I can't do math. So that's 15, 28, 6. So it can do 2 shares, or 2 dividends per holder. And if it does that, if it pays out a double dividend, then it's going to go up. The share price is going to go up. If it pays out a single dividend, then it's going to stay where it is. If it does not pay a dividend, it's going to go back. So does the chairman want, well, the chairman wants the company, if it goes back to 3 right here, and next turn, let's say it doesn't pay a dividend and it goes back, that means that next turn, it has to pay a dividend. If it doesn't pay a dividend, then there's a bailout. And if there's a bailout, then everyone that has more than 1 share goes down to 1 share. And that's terrible for pink and purple. They really don't want that to happen. Green and yellow right now don't care, but pink and purple really don't want that to happen. So pink definitely wants to pay at least 1 dividend. The question is, do they want to pay 2 and make it go up? If they make it go up, then it's going to be a long time before the company has to worry. However, if it pays a double dividend, then that means that's less money to the company, because a double dividend right now is going to be $16. That would leave it with 9. That's still fine. So I think Pink is going to do that. Pink is going to pay a double dividend. So that's 2 each, which is going to be 16 total. So it's going to be left with 9. And then that means that Pink is going to get $6 because it has 3 shares. Right? And Purple is going to get $6. And then Green is going to get $2. And Yellow is going to get $2. And then the company still has 9 left over. So at that point, 9 is going to go to the chairman to distribute as they see fit. And because we paid a double dividend, that goes up. So the chairman now has to decide where that money is going to go. It definitely wants more money over here. So I think it's going to give it at least that much. And now this is when negotiation happens. Yellow and Green have to kind of lobby to Pink to give it money. Without money, they can't ship it all. So Pink's like, hey, what do you want? Or what are you going to give me? And this is a good time to discuss promise cubes. So Yellow and Green can offer promise cubes to Pink in exchange for money. You can make any kind of deals. It can be money for money. It can be ships and goods. But right now, Green and Yellow both are going to offer Pink a promise cube if it gives them the entire amount. Which you're going to probably need the entire amount. Now, Green doesn't need it as badly as Yellow does. So Yellow really has to... So Pink might just give it to Yellow just to even things out a bit. Oh no, Yellow, well, what else are you going to give me? Well, you can make a non-binding promise. Well, all the promises are non-binding, but I don't know. I think that Pink might also want to put something. So it's going to give it... Yeah, it's going to give it 2 at least for a promise cube. So Yellow is going to give a promise cube to Pink. And this is 2 points that Yellow's going to lose at the end of the game if it doesn't get this promise cube back. But there are plenty of ways to do that. You can either pay $2 to Pink to get that promise cube back. You can promote Pink ahead of somebody else. You can just forgive Pink if it does something. Or mutual cancellation if you guys decide to cancel each other's cubes. So there's a lot of ways to get that back. Yellow's not too worried about it right now. I think Pink wants another ship out, and it needs at least another buck there. And where does it want this last one? Does it want? I think it'll just put it there. And that is how it allocated those funds. So that is that, and now we go to the evening post phase. So the events abroad happen, so that's when we turn over one of these. Right? And the first thing we're going to do is the events in India. So the events in India are 2 right here, right? So we need to move the elephant 2. So the elephant is going to move from here, right? It's there right now. It's going to move from 1 to 2, right? And because this region is dominated by the Punjab, we're going to use this side of the event table. So it's going to roll. Right now, it's going to roll 1 die because the balance of India is in equilibrium, right? So it's going to roll 1 die. And the die is a 4. So we're going to look at this event table right here. And on a roll of a 4, it's going to be a revolt. So, a revolt means that Maratha is going to do its own thing over here. And now it's its own region. But because it was a revolt, the balance of India moves to chaos. Right, so that's the thing that happens. So that's one event. So we are at 2, and if a revolt happens, the elephant goes to the lowest dominated, and the lowest dominated is 7. So we're going to roll again, and now we roll 2 dice, and we're going to take the higher because of the balance of Indians and chaos, and that's going to be a 5. So we look down here, and it's going to be a collapse, and a collapse just means that well, nothing happens right now, essentially. So that's it. We go from 7 to 8, and 8 is going to be right there. Uh-oh. That doesn't look good. All right, so we're going to roll 2 dice, and it's going to be the higher of the 2, which is a 3. And a 3 means that it revolts, and that a revolt, when it is there, nothing happens, I don't think. Yeah, I think it's fine. Actually, sorry, no, my mistake. Okay, so I'm looking at the wrong side of the event table. It's over here. So on a roll of a 3, it just means that there's a status quo. So nothing happened, which is great, because if we lose this for some reason, then it's not so good. But we're fine. So that stays there, and that's it. So we did 2 events from 1 to 2, and from 2 to 7. Sorry. So actually, yeah, we didn't even need to do that. My mistake. Okay, so that is events abroad. Now we go to attrition. So attrition is basically we have to follow the ribbon and see who gets fired or gets retired or whatever. So we do that now, and we start in ribbon order. So pink is going to be first, and on a 4, 5, or 6 for the chairman, they're going to leave the office. So we roll once, and 6. So the chairman is going to be fired. Now, we're going to decide all of this simultaneously so that we can do some negotiation later. So that happens. The director of trade, all of the executive positions leave their office on a 5 or 6. So the director of trade is a 2, they're fine. The Bombay president is a 3, they're fine. They're fine. They are fired. Then on a roll of only a 6, the senior positions leave their office. Fine. They're fine. And they're fine. Alright, and those are all the positions. So, now, pink are the only ones that are leaving their offices, so they don't really have much to negotiate. Usually if there are more people, let's say that there's one of these families doesn't have enough money, pink can say, hey, I will pay for you to go to one of these prize cards if you give me a promise cube or if you do something for me. But right now, it's just pink, and pink has 2 guys that they can move to prize cards. So the way that this game works, essentially, is you're trying to work your family members up the chain, up the corporate ladder, and then when they leave office, they can retire to these cushy positions right here. So the positions that we have right now is a club membership. So an executive can get a club membership. So it's a 1-for-1, which is really nice. The only reason why you wouldn't want to get this is that a 1-for-1, the point density isn't great. Like you only get for 1 cube, you only get 1 point, and you don't have that many cubes. So something like the royal wedding, it's 7 points for 1 cube, which is a lot better than this one. But that's still really good. A 1-for-1 is a great exchange. So political newspaper, I can get 1 point for 2, and before voting on a law, I can disqualify a player from voting. So they also give you special abilities on top of points, some of them. This one, after attrition, I gain £1 for every £5 in a family treasury. That's not bad, because Larkins is doing pretty well on money. This is just straight money. I can't afford it, though. I don't have 17 bucks yet. The ambassador of France is just straight points, 6 for 3, so that's a 2-for-1. exchange. And then the professor, during hiring, your eligible writer must be promoted first. If conflict, neither prize cube is used. So I'm thinking either this one or this one. And because I have two out, I guess I can go one and the other. I do want to have enough money to buy a ship, right? So I want to probably keep at least. So the likelihood of the company buying a ship is pretty great, and the director of trade is going to decide in what order, which means it's likely that I'm going to have to pay 6 for that ship. So I want to leave at least 6 behind and only spend $7, which means that I have just enough to do one here for 1 and one here for 6. And now I have 1 point and 3 points towards the end of the game. That is assuming that I don't lose these for whatever reason. Sometimes if you run out of cubes, you have to take cubes from prize cards. So that is what the Larkins family is going to do. Then it goes, that's it pretty much. Nobody else left their positions. So that is the attrition phase. Now we do, my mistake. You know what? Let's decide that this was a thing because we already did it. All right. That card basically just said that there are no attrition rolls, but we'll just do that next time. So now we go to a law. So this law is up for debate right now. Popular support is going to start at 3, which means that this is going to start at -3 right here. And we're voting on whether we want this law to go into effect. So right now, ship's purchasing office is eliminated and the holder may score. Each shipyard cube generates £1 during trade, and it's a persistent effect. So who does that benefit? The ship's purchasing office is eliminated. That means that purple is going to be able to score, and then each shipyard cube generates £1 during trade. That means that pink really wants it to happen, and purple and yellow kind of want it to happen. So really benefits everyone. Now, who decides on these laws? Well, everyone that has a cube, and for every cube that you have in factory and shipyard, you get 1 vote. These are essentially the shipyard unions, local 305 over here, and they are going to decide. So it goes in starting with the chairman. So the chairman is pink. You're going to decide where you want your votes to go. You can also buy votes, £1 for every vote. So pink has to decide where they want their 2 votes and if they want any more votes. So it's going to definitely move its 2 votes to the plus column because they're going to get money. They're going to generate money. So they definitely want to do that. So they're not going to spend any more money, though, because they want to keep their money for next time. Purple, they're okay with it. Purple doesn't have a say, though, and they don't want to spend any money on votes, so they're fine. Green and yellow are also pretty okay with it. Yellow gets 2 votes and green gets 1 vote. So yellow gets 1 vote, they get 2 votes, and everybody wants this to happen. So yeah, that's going to be a thing. And then this goes out, and that is a law that was put into effect. So the ship's purchasing office is eliminated and the holder may score. So this guy goes away, and then purple can decide what they want to do. Purple has some money right now. So they have 6 and 3, that's $9. And that's a senior position, so they can go here for the same thing, and it's going to cost them $9. Or they can go here. So either way, it's going to be a 2 for 1, but this, again, point density, it's a greater point density for your cube. I don't know. I think it might want to go here because it wants to save some of that money. So it's going to just spend $2 and go there, right? Okay. So that is that. Now, I haven't used this one before. It says ship's purchasing office is eliminated. I'm going to assume that that means it's no longer a thing. So yeah, and now from now on, each shipyard cube is going to generate £1 during trade, which is pretty good. So yeah, I think there's no way that, I mean, I think that that has to be there because then no more ships are going to get purchased. So we're just assuming that that's a thing. All right. So now we keep going. That is the local news. Now we do refresh. So refresh is essentially we're going to remove these, right? And then any exhausted ships are going to come back. The goods go away. The ships come back. And we refill each ship in the shipyard. And do that. And then we're going to move these officers right here are going to go there. So anything that has a black arrow. So these officers are going to go to the military affairs office. They've graduated and they're going to become officers. And these captains are going to go to the director of trade. So next turn, they're going to be able to buy ships. And that is one turn of John Company. All right, so we're now in turn 2, and a bit of an update. I checked with Cole, and this law does eliminate the ships purchasing office. That means that the company will never buy ships again for the rest of the game. That's a great thing about this game. Every time I play it, things happen that completely change the game from the way that I played it before, which is great because you're always the replayability in this game is amazing. Anyway, it is going to be interesting because that means that now only families can buy ships, which is going to make it difficult to buy ships, number one, and it also is going to put more stress on the company since they have to pay for a lot of captains. So yeah, we'll see how that turns out. So we do the same thing again. The first thing we're going to do is a family action, and every family is going to decide what they want to do. So starting with the previous chairman, which is going to be Pink. Pink is going to, once again, not do anything that costs money because Pink, I mistakenly thought that Pink had a captain and it does not. So Pink is going to perhaps buy a share. I think Pink is going to buy a share. So Pink is going to buy a share. And that's its action. It did not need to keep that money. Well, you know, it still benefited. Okay, so then we go to purple. So purple does not have it has 7 money. So what can purple do? Does purple want Pink to have more shares in it? Does purple want maybe another manor? Seems to be going pretty good on the manor game. I think purple wants to get in on that manor game. So it's going to buy another manor just because it's cheap for Benians. And Benians like different estates. So it's going to keep doing that. It's going to keep getting money that way. Then the Sykes family. So the Sykes family wants to stuff the writer box because it wants to get its £1 for every 2 writers in the writer box. So it's definitely going to do that. And then the Hastings family The Hastings family does have a fair amount of money. Uh, However, the Hastings family and the Sykes family both want to buy a ship. So it wants to keep. It doesn't know where it's going to be. Actually, now that it knows that the company can't buy any more money or any more goods or any more ships, it knows that it can buy a ship pretty cheap. So it's gonna. I think yeah. No, this money gets eliminated from the company. I think because the company was eliminated, which means that yeah, it's gonna be able to buy a ship for 4. Right. So it can spend the 3 other money on a shipyard. I don't know that a shipyard's very good right now. I think a factory is gonna be better. So yeah, I think it's gonna Yellow's gonna do a factory action because ship purchasing is probably not going to be as big of a thing in this game. So that's where the Hastings family is headed, and that's it. Those are the family actions. So now we go to the company actions. The first thing we have to do is we have to fill vacancies. So we have to start with a chairman because we follow this blue ribbon. And how do we decide who becomes the new chairman? Well, starting with the previous chairman, which is Pink. Pink is going to nominate somebody to be chairman. Now, Pink right now has 4 votes, Purple has 3 votes, and Green and Yellow have 2 votes each, or 1 vote each. That means that Pink does not have enough power to decide on its own because the chairman has to be elected on a 50% plus 1 vote. So it needs at least Green or Yellow's support if it wants to become chairman. Now, does Pink want to become chairman is the other question, because the chairman is going to come from the board of directors, and if Pink becomes a new chairman, that's 1 less share that they have for the rest of the game. So, does it want to do that, or does it want to maybe nominate Purple? Now, does Pink want to be chairman? Does it benefit Pink to become chairman? Chairman does nominate executive positions, but nepotism is a thing that we'll go into. So I don't think it necessarily cares. I think it's going to nominate Purple to be the chairman. And now does Purple want to? If Purple decides that they also want to become chairman, then that's it, because Pink and Purple can both just push that through. If Purple votes against it, then Yellow or Green would have to vote for it for Purple to become the new chairman. Does Purple want to become chairman? Purple does not care. So Purple is not necessarily interested in becoming chairman. So now Purple decides, does it want to strike a deal with Yellow or Green to vote against so that it doesn't become chairman. And then Purple can then nominate Pink, and Yellow and Green can vote with Purple to nominate Pink. I don't think that Purple wants to give anything to Yellow or Green, because Yellow or Green's going to be like, hey, yeah, we'll vote for wherever you want us to vote, but we're only going to do it if you give us something. And Purple doesn't want to give anything. So I think Purple doesn't care that much. It's gonna allow it to happen. So Purple's just gonna vote for itself as chairman, and that's that. So if that wasn't the case, then Purple got to nominate, and if Purple couldn't nominate a chairman, then Green and Yellow get to try to nominate. If nobody can agree on a chairman, then the previous chairman, which is Pink in this case, just decides, hey, I'm gonna be chairman again, and that's that. Or rather, Pink decides who the chairman becomes. But in this case, Purple became chairman, so we're good. Then we go down the line, and we need a new Bengal president. So Purple has to decide who the new Bengal presidency is going to be. Now, if you may remember that the Bengal presidency got a lot of money from being able to ship goods. So that's a pretty cushy position right there. Purple can't nominate itself. because purple has to promote from a senior position. So right now, the eligible people are yellow or green. Those are the senior positions right now that are available. So yellow or green are the only ones that can be promoted to that executive position. And purple's asking yellow and green, hey, what do you want for that position? And yellow and green are both going to offer purple at least a promise cube. And purple's like, well, I don't really care either way. I need more than promise cube. What else are you going to give me? And yellow doesn't really have that much money to spare. Yellow needs this money for a captaincy, whereas green has a lot more money. So green can say, it's going to definitely squirrel away its $4, but it has $4 left over, and it really wants that position over there. So green's going to say, I'll give you $1 if you $1 and one promise cube if you let me be the Bengal president. And purple doesn't really have any better offers. It doesn't want more money, but it's not going to turn down at least $1. So purple's going to say, sure, yeah, give me that, and I will make you the new Bengal president. All right, so then we go down. Now, ships purchasing is no longer in office, so that's one less position that is going to be in this game. I played this game 10 times, and this is the first time that I've had that come up, so it's really interesting how this game changes. So we go to goods purchasing now, because that office was just vacated. So that office gets promoted from the writer's box, which means that pink, yellow, and green are the eligible people to go into that office. And the director of trade is going to decide that, which is also purple. Now, purple can choose any one of those 3 people. So purple does not care who gets in there, so it's once again going to ask. And I think pink doesn't necessarily care. Yellow kind of does. Not really. I mean, yellow does have a lot of dudes here, so they can. They're going to get money in it. So if there was like another guy here, if there was something like this, then it might matter, because if we get something like that, so right now the goods cost is 2, right? So we'll just put that there so you can see it, but the goods cost is 2. That means that if there's 2 in goods purchasing, then the goods office holder gets to decide which one of these guys is going to get that money. So in that case, green and yellow might want to fight for it. But because yellow is the only one there, they don't really care that much. Because you have to buy the cheapest good. So it's definitely going to buy it from yellow. So yellow doesn't care. Green also doesn't care. So I think that purple's just going to decide to give it to yellow because they gave that presidency to green, and they don't want green to get everything. So that's how that's going to turn out. And those are all the vacant offices right now. So we've done the vacancies, and now we do the company phase. So there's no ships purchasing. We go straight to goods. The director of trade decides. Well, I think it happens when the director of trade happens. So right now, the goods purchasing, it has to happen, and there is no money there. So actually, no goods are purchased. So it goes straight to military affairs. No money there, so it goes to logistics. And the military affairs officer, which is yellow, has to decide where those officers are going to go. Now, yellow really wants them to go over here, I think, because yellow wants to conquer Madras. When yellow conquers Madras, it can then perhaps get itself in that governorship. So when you conquer a territory, you put a thing down there like that, and that's a new office that you can hold. And yellow is going to be able to promote that office. If it promotes itself, it has to, it's going to be nepotism, which means it has to pay a promise cube to everyone else that was eligible. But the benefit to this is that it's going to tax this region, and the governor of that region can embezzle that money. So that's a thing. Um, does it want it? Yellow also wants to protect Madras, so it probably wants all three guys there. Um, Everyone else was just crying like, "Hey, you should move some guys around because this might go away. Bombay gets conquered. We need a little more. He does have a. Well, Yellow doesn't care because Yellow only has one share. So Yellow doesn't care if the company's making less money. It's gonna make its money its own way. So that happened. And now it goes to the director of trade. So the director of trade doesn't have any things to move around, but it does have these two guys. So it offers Yellow and Green the chance to buy ships. Now the director of trade decides in what order that's going to happen. So it would normally be able to decide who gets the cheaper ship and who gets the more expensive ship, and Yellow and Green can kind of negotiate there as well. But right now, there are only two directors of trade, and there are two ships, so it's going to be or two cheap ships, so it doesn't really matter. So they're just going to offer it to Yellow and then Green. Yellow and Green both have enough money, so Green is going to pay $4 for a ship, and it's going to have a nice little captaincy there, right? And then Yellow is going to pay $4, and it's going to buy a ship, and it also has a sweet little captaincy right there. Right? So now they have two captain ships. Right now, the director of trade decides where those ships are going to go. It probably wants purple. Purple again doesn't care. It definitely cares less now because it's going to make less money if the company does well. Pink is going to make a shit ton of money if it does well. So, but Pink doesn't really care either. So really, it's Green that's going to make the money if stuff is put there. So does Green want to? Does Purple want to help Yellow or Green is the question. I think it might just spread it out. Yeah, it probably doesn't want to give Green. So right now, if Green has, so Green can do all three of these, right? And then it has one ship left over. Now it can't fulfill any more orders here, right? So it probably wants to, Green wants to fulfill probably this one and then two of these. And if it spreads it around, that means if one region like goes into chaos or something, it doesn't lose all its ships. So does Green want to offer something? Yeah, Green will offer Purple. Green will offer Purple one money if it moves at least one ship over there. And Purple's gonna ask for 2 money. And Green's not gonna Green doesn't like that because Green thinks that it's not worth it just for an extra thing. It's only gonna offer the 1 money for yeah, so it's gonna do that. It's gonna offer 1 money, and then it's gonna move its own captain ship over there. So it's got its captain buddy over there. And then Purple is going to move the other one. It's going to move it over here. Actually, so we can't fulfill both of those orders. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, well, I'll do that. Yeah, it'll obviously, yeah, it'll spread it around, and then we'll just put it over there. Okay. So that is the director of trade. Now, Green is the Bombay company, or Bombay presidency, and Green's just gonna try to ship because it wants to make some money. So it has $2. So that's a strength of 2, penalty of 0. So it rolls 2 dice, and it's successful. So it's going to exhaust these 2 ships and fulfill this order for 5, and the company gets $5. All right, and that's all that presidency does. So then it goes to yellow, and yellow is going to it has 4 things it can ship, which unfortunately is not enough. It could have shipped 2 goods, or it could have placed 2 orders. So right now it has a 2 and a 3, but it only has 3 boats and 1 good, which means that it can only fulfill this one. It also can now campaign, and it can campaign and take a governorship there. Now, the benefit to campaigning is that these soldiers are going to get a lot of plunder. So now there's a bit more negotiation that can happen. Green and pink are hugely going to benefit if yellow uses that money to campaign. So yellow is going to ask green and pink, hey, I will campaign, but you have to give me some of that money that you get. So green is like, okay, I stand to make $6 here. I'll give you $2 if you spend all of this stuff. But see, if you try to conquer, so green wants that, but if you try to conquer this region, but you can't defend it, like if you spend all of this and all of this gets exhausted, and you conquer Madras, right? Then the problem is going to be that Madras is left undefended, which means that if Hyderabad tries to conquer Madras and it's successful, then all of this is going to go away. So yellow has to think about that. It stands to make some money from green if it does it. But I don't know that it wants to spend all of its soldiers. So right now, to conquer this region, it's going to be, the strength is going to be the number of troops and guns that you have. And then you can spend $2 to hire 1 mercenary. So its max strength could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So that's 6 strength, and the defense is 1. So it can roll 5 dice, which is almost certainly going to conquer Madras if it does that. Does it want to do that? It probably wants to just spend... Okay, yellow's going to say, listen, if you give me... No, yeah, I'm gonna require $2 still to do that, because it doesn't, I'm really green. I'm really in a position here where, like, if I allow that to happen, then we can all lose. So I'm not gonna put all the guns out, but I will campaign if you give me two money. So green's like, yeah, sure, I'll give you 2 money. So green's gonna spend its last 2 money and give it to yellow, right? And yellow is going to campaign. So it's going to leave this money to try to ship, but it will campaign with 3 soldiers. So that means it's going to roll 2 dice. Yeah, it's going to roll 2 dice because it's 3 minus 1 is 2. And green's not too happy about that because it wanted more there, but yellow feels like it needs to hold something over, and it's successful. So that's good for green and pink. So green is gonna get 2. It's gonna get a plunder, the plunder value right here. So it's gonna get that plunder value for every soldier that was in that campaign, and green has 2 soldiers. And pink is 1 soldier. That means that green is going to get $6. And pink is going to get $3. And the governorship of Madras is now created. Madras is now dominated by the British East India Company. And that is a position that will open up next turn. So we still have those two guns to defend it if need be, and we also have um, money there. So now that's campaign. Does yellow want to open trade? You know what? It's probably not a bad idea, because if it opens trade, um, then that's another sovereign region that can go here. And if this goes away, then the presidency doesn't close. But also, it also might want to ship. I think it's gonna ship. So it's gonna spend those two money to roll two dice, and it is successful. It successfully shipped. It's gonna ship just two goods, and it's gonna leave these behind. So it's gonna ship handicrafts, and it's gonna get $4 for the company. So that's gonna be $9 total. All right, and then it's gonna hope that nothing happens to Madras there. So yeah, then we go to the Bengal presidency. Now, campaigning is a thing that Green can't do because it doesn't have guns or soldiers. Opening trade is probably not a thing that it wants to do because it doesn't want to make it harder to ship. So it does want to ship, and it can ship as 3, 4, 5. So it can ship 1, 2, 3, and then this one right here. The same thing it did last time for 21. So Green is going to do that, and it wants that to succeed. So it's going to roll 6 dice for 5. It's going to roll 5 dice for $6. So it's going to do that. It's going to roll 5 dice, and it's successful. So it successfully shipped 4 for 21. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and Bengal's still where the money is, and that's going to increase company revenues to 30. And then these are all going to be exhausted. All right. So that is company actions. And now we go to trade. So during trade, a couple things are going to happen. Ships purchase, right here, the ships purchasing office. Every shipyard is going to generate 1 during trade, right? Because we voted that into law. So pink is going to get $2. Green is going to get 1. And yellow is going to get 1. So players take money for taxes. There are no money is going to be taken for taxes because there's no position here. However, taxes will happen here because this is a new governorship. So Madras is going to get taxed for 1, and that money is going to go to the treasurer. If there was a governor here, then the governor could decide whether it wants to embezzle that money or not. But that's not a thing that's going to happen yet. So presidential bonus happens. So Green gets a bonus of 4 because it fulfilled 4 orders, and Green's pretty happy about that. So it's gonna get that, and then Yellow's gonna get 1 for fulfilling 1 order, and Green is gonna get another 1 for fulfilling another order. So Green's doing pretty well on the in the company game. All right, so that is presidential bonuses. Now interlopers. So every captain is going to get $2, right? So that's $2 for Green and $2 for Yellow. Right, and then we go to prize family power. So the Sykes family at the start of trade, if you have at least 2 writers in the writer's box, which Green does, they get another £1. So that's that. Oh, one more thing, and I forgot to include this. When the yellow rolls, they can roll for any blue action. They roll an extra die. So that's actually a thing that yellow could have negotiated with purple. They could have said, "Hey, if you want the company to succeed, I roll an extra die, so you should totally give me more money." or you should make it so that I can at least roll one die so that I can roll an extra one. But yellow forgot about that, so it did not negotiate. Alright, so that is family powers. Now the company pays the bank for debt services. Now the company, it did make 30 bucks, but it's going to have to pay a lot more in debt. So right now the company is going to pay for every captain and every soldier and every gun. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it has to pay 7 bucks. If it had any debts, it would also have to pay for debts, but it doesn't have any debts right now. So that's that. Now the chairman decides whether it wants to pay dividends and if it wants to allocate the rest of the money. So it doesn't want to pay dividends because pink is going to get a lot of money if it does. Pink is going to get twice as much money as purple if it pays dividends. However, does it want to go down? If it pays 1 dividend, it stays at 5. If it doesn't pay any dividends, it goes. So pink doesn't like the thinking that purple is doing right now. So pink is like, hey, if you give me, I'll give you, I'll share, I'll share the wealth with you. If you pay at least 1 dividend, I'll give you a promise cube. And purple likes that idea, I think. So purple's going to do that because it does benefit purple at least a little bit to get a dividend. So pink is going to give purple a promise cube. And purple's going to pay at least 1 dividend. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's going to be 15 left. And it could pay another dividend, but it's not going to. It's just going to stay where it is. So the company's going to stay at 5. And that means that the company's probably going to, not have a problem for at least a little while longer. It's going to kind of sail free and clear. So that 15 bucks is going to go to the company. And now the chairman is going to decide where that money should go. And again, we go back to negotiation here. So it can't go to ships purchasing, which is normally what it would do because that office doesn't exist. It can go to goods purchasing. And yellow really likes that idea. So yellow also thinks, okay, definitely give me some money here because, I can roll good. But purple really wants money for itself. Where can purple put money that it benefits it? I don't know. Purple can also be a dick and just put it like in a crappy place and kind of hold the money for ransom. It can be like, hey, I'm gonna put this money like in military affairs if somebody doesn't offer me something. Because purple doesn't really benefit from putting it anywhere. So purple's going to be like, if you don't give me money, somebody doesn't give me money right now, I'm just going to put all of these things in military affairs and we're going to buy a shit ton of guns and it's going to tank the company. So somebody needs to give me money right now. Because chairman's not being very cooperative. So yellow's like, okay, I will, I'll give you $2 because I really want money in ships purchasing or goods purchasing because I make money when you do that. So purple's like, okay, fine. So yellow's gonna give purple some money, and they're gonna put at least that much. So yeah, let's break this a bit. It's gonna give it at least that much. 4, 7. I'll give it 7. Okay, that's enough for 3 goods. But it's still, what's it gonna do with the rest of the money? Well, yellow really wants, so yeah, it's gonna give at least that much to yellow. Green and green's green's doing really well, so I don't think purple wants to give green any money to make any more money, unless green kind of plays ball here. Because purple's not in a good position to make any money. So where does purple want? So purple's gonna say, hey green, if you want money in your things, you also need to help me out here. So green's like, fine. If you put money in my companies, if you put 3 in each, I will give you 1 money and 1 promise cube. So purple's like, okay, that'll work. So it's going to put 3 in each presidency for green. And green is going to give it purple a promise cube and 1 money. Alright, so that is that, and there was a lot of deal making there, a lot of negotiations happening. Purple had to get a little strong arm because it's not really doing all as well as well, it's doing well now because it got some money, but it really needed to make things happen for itself. It should probably put stuff in the writer's box so that it can get into positions of power in the future. But anyway, so that is all of the money, and now it goes to events abroad. So shuffle this back up because I know what that one is already. So we do this, and events abroad. So we're going to have 2 events, and before we went from 1 to 7, and from 7 to 8, so we are at 8. No, so from 1 to 2, and from 2 to 7 is where we went. So now we go from 7 to 8, and we need to roll, just like we were afraid might happen. It's probably not going to be very, very good for us. So if Madras revolts, and we can't quell that revolt, then we got problems. So it's gonna balance of India is at chaos, so we roll 2 dice and take the higher, and the higher is 6, so it is gonna try to revolt. Now, when you try to revolt, you can do a police action, and the police action is going to be, I'm sorry, I have to look this up. The police action is going to be, revolts can be cancelled in a company-dominated regions if the provincial office can equal the result of the event die roll that triggered the revolt with the strength of its police. The strength of its police starts at 0s and increases by 1 for each gun or officer it exhausts from the presidency and each 2 pounds it spends. If a revolt is cancelled by the police, the balance of India does not tilt towards chaos and an elephant is not redirected. So revolts can be cancelled by a company. The result of the event die roll is a 6. And we only have 2 guns. So yeah, that's not a thing. We cannot prevent Madras from revolting there. So the region becomes sovereign and closed. Any completed orders are disrupted. If a region dominated by the company revolts, place a black disc on the provincial office. So that is a problem. Because we rolled a 6, we did not have enough things. So if we had rolled a 6 and we hadn't used, obviously we used the soldiers. But if we had this many soldiers and we had rolled a 6, and this was dominated, then we would have had enough. But because we only have 3, there's no way that, like, if we had rolled a 3, it still would have been a revolt, but we would have been able to quell that revolt because we had 2 guns and enough money for 1 mercenary to quell the revolt. But it was a really strong revolt. It was a 6, so that is not good for us. So here's what's going to happen. It's good for the game, for showing you what happens. So This is going to become sovereign and closed, right? So this is going to go here. The Madras presidency goes away, right? And everything here goes away too. So this money is going to go away. These soldiers are going to go away. These ships are going to go away from the game. So these ships are gone. And brutal. That's that. Cole says that the first few games that he played, and then about 6 times, he kept trying to conquer Madras. And every time he did, he suffered for it. And I didn't listen to him. I tried to conquer Madras anyway, and it cost me. So, or it cost Pink in this case. So that's a thing. So Madras presidency is gone because we didn't have another sovereign region there. I mentioned before how I thought about opening trade. That way, if I had open trade and Madras goes away, I still have an extra region and the presidency doesn't go away. Well, Yellow got greedy and decided to try to ship goods instead and did not try to open trade with a new partner, and now it cost them dearly. So, and these guns also go away. So that's what happens. It can be brutal, and I saw it coming too. It wasn't a thing where it happened randomly. I knew that it was going to eventually go there. So that's the events in India, and I went from 8 to, and that was a successful revolt. So it's going to go to the lowest dominated, and the lowest dominated is once again 7. And from 7, it's going to roll. So it's going to roll 2 dice again. And it's going to roll a 5, and that 5 is a collapse, which means nothing in the scheme of things here. So that's it. Those are the events in India. Then we do attrition rolls, and the attrition rolls happen again in the same way. So we're going to roll one each. So starting with the chairman is fired with a 4. Then director of trade, they're fine. Fine, and fine. So only the chairman gets fired. And Purple was thinking that might happen. There's a 50% chance that the chairman is going to leave office in any given turn because they roll on 4, 5, or 6. So they were like, yeah, that's about what I expected. So now the chairman can decide where they want to retire to. They have 1, 2, so Purple has 1, 2, 3, 4, it has 8 money. Where is a good place for Green to go? Again, I'm really concerned with point density, and I think I'm going to go here. So yeah, Purple's going to go there. It's going to spend 6 of its money, and it's going to become an ambassador to France. So that happened, and that's the attrition roll. So now we go to the local news. So the law before Parliament is military spending. At the start of each turn, place a gun in each presidential army. Military upkeep for officers is now paid to the officers. So who benefits from that? Nobody, because there are no officers. The only officers that existed were here, and that office, that Madras revolted against those people, so those people are gone. So nobody really benefits from that, which means nobody necessarily is interested in doing that. There's nobody here either. If somebody had gone to the officer spot for next turn, then those people would be interested in this because they would get money every turn. But because nobody really benefits from that right now, Pink definitely doesn't want it to happen. Nobody really wants it to happen. So everybody's going to vote that down. It starts at -3, and there aren't enough votes to pass it. So it's just not going to happen. So that's the local news. Then we do refresh. So these ships are fine. They go back. These ships are fine. They go back. We add more ships here. We add more goods there. And that is the end of refresh. So that is the end of turn 2. And I think I'm going to call it at this point. I think you have a general idea of how the game works. There's a couple things that didn't happen. You didn't see a bailout. And I don't think a bailout is really going to happen because the share price is at 5. So that means that the company has to not pay a dividend uh, 1, 2, 3 times before a bailout happens. When a bailout happens, um, everyone that has more than one share is reduced down to one share, and anyone that has only one share goes away completely. If there are no more shares at all, then the company fails, and anyone that is in an executive position gets -3 points at the end of the game. The other thing that could happen is a mutiny. A mutiny is if there are 7 sovereign regions. Right now there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If there are 7 sovereign regions, then the game is over. There's a mutiny, and players deduct 3 VP for the president, the governors, the residencies, and the chairman. Otherwise, we keep going in the early company scenario until we get to turn 6, and whoever has the most points wins. Right now, Purple's doing pretty good. They have 3 points in manners, they have 3 points as the ambassador of France, and they have 1 point in the club membership. However, Green has a lot of money. So Green could, use that money effectively in the future. Green doesn't have any points right now. The other thing that earns you points is shares. So right now, Pink has 4 shares. So that's pretty good. And Pink has a good amount of money as well. So Pink has a good amount of points. They have 3, 4 points, and 4 shares. So that's pretty good too. So it's really anyone's game right now. And there are things, right now, yellow and green. So green is, there are things they can do. Probably, in this case, it doesn't seem like tanking the company is going to be particularly fruitful because there's going to be less captaincies and less soldiers, and so it's really probably in your best interest to try to just make money through the company. And Green's definitely doing that. So I think Green probably has this game. But, it's still early. It's only 2 turns in. And, the great thing about this game is that anything can happen. And if we played it out, it would probably be, I know that it would be interesting. So I hope this was helpful to everybody. And have fun playing John Company when it comes out.